Welcome to the International Luxury Hotel Association's webinar series, where top hotel owners, operators, developers, suppliers, and brands connect to shape the future of luxury hospitality. For over 15 years, the ILHA has been the most influential association in the industry, with global chapters and the largest hospitality network on LinkedIn, 500,000 members strong. Our flagship event, Inspire, is the leading luxury hospitality conference in Europe and the US, where decision-makers network, share insights, and get deals done. Visit us at ilha.org.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Andrew Hobson, the restaurant manager at the Inn on Biltmore Estates. I'd like to welcome you to the International Luxury Hotel Association's webinar on what planners want, trends driving group business resilience in 2025 and beyond. This webinar is brought to you by Cvent and the International Luxury Hotel Association. Here we'll discover the future of event planning in 2025, featuring AI-driven solutions, personalized experiences, and advanced tech like 3D virtual tours. Get the latest tips on managing budgets and boosting ROI, plus insights on sustainability and data privacy. Don't miss out on staying ahead in the evolving event landscape. So here I'd like to take this moment to introduce our speakers for today's webinar.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Bombardi, Regional Director of Revenue and Distribution for EOS Hospitality. A little bit about me. I've been in the hospitality industry for 22 plus years, and I've been in the revenue management discipline for the past 15 years in markets, New York City, South Beach, Keys, Beverly Hills, and others. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am Kelly Kofek, Director of Product Marketing at Cvent. I have a background in with a hotel management company working in marketing for group sales, and most recently with Cvent for the last 6 years. And I work on the solutions that connect event organizers with suppliers, things like our venue sourcing solution, room block management, vendor sourcing, event diagramming, and excited to be here with you all today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dara. I'm on the planning team here at Cvent. We help plan and execute all of Cvent's internal events and also our attended events. I work on all of our Tier 1 events, so Cvent Connect being our largest user conference, and then also our field marketing events for our Tier 1 trade shows. Been with Cvent for about 4 years and excited to be with all of you today.
Excellent. So let's get started with today's discussion. So I'd like to start off with, in your experience, what are the key elements that make an event not only attract attendees, but also keep them engaged before, during, and after the event? Could you share an example where all of these elements came together successfully?
Yeah, I'll start this one off. It's fresh in my mind because we're just coming off of our Cvent Connect event. So I would love to say that we did this one well, but I could give a few of the trends that we are looking at this year and what we're seeing really work well for attendees. The first one being personalization. So in the era of TikTok and personalized algorithms, everyone wants things to be as personalized as possible. So we're seeing personalization at every stage be really important. Attendees really expect experiences to be tailored to their interests and needs throughout. So that includes both the communications before the event, so the pre-event emails, their check-in experience as they go through, and then also session recommendations and being able to go into the technology before the event starts and have things that are personalized and recommended for them. Speaking of technology, people are really expecting seamless technology integration from start to end of the event. They really want things to be tech forward throughout. So through the marketing, the registration, on-site engagement, and post-event follow-up. Really being able to have everything in the palm of your hand is super important for our attendees. So we really are seeing strong adoption of the mobile app and making sure that everything is at people's fingertips as they go in. They want things like digital check-in, having everything in the app, making content easy to access for them. And then one other trend that we're seeing on site is the content that people want is increasingly more immersive and varied. So people want engaging content formats. They're not looking at things like just the standard panel breakout session. They really want, Kelly just did her Family Feud style breakout session, which was a huge hit on site. So people are really looking for more of almost that like entertainment type of content. That's really what is appealing more to the needs of millennial and Gen Z planners. People don't want just the standard breakout experience. They want something that's really engaging. And then lastly, I think the relationship building and community aspect has never been more important. With so much being digital, so much being AI, people are really craving that human connection, and events are that place where they can build lasting relationships, not just transactions. We really want to make sure that we are, in every event that we're hosting, facilitating networking, facilitating peer-to-peer learning, making sure that people have opportunities to engage with their communities and micro communities. So that's something that we really put on emphasis on, especially in our own events, is making time for those micro community meetups throughout. Kelly, anything you would add
Yeah,
there?
absolutely. And I think there is a lot of pressure to create content, and to your point about the immersive experiences, like events are competitive now. Like you have to do more to attract attendees. But I wanted to chime in a little bit about that pre-event process, because I work on our venue sourcing technology. I think one of the things that we're seeing is a lot more pressure to find a venue that is attractive and can pull off all of the things that you need to do to make an event attractive to an attendee. So that's something we're seeing as a trend. It's really the partnership with the venue to get the attendees there and then make them happy there. I found a stat from our 2025 planner sourcing report. 26% of planners say that poor attendee experience would deter them from returning to a venue in the future, which is very interesting to me because that really shows how much the venue is playing as a part of the attendee experience, which we don't really think about as much. We think it's kind of all on the event organizer, but it's really a partnership. So I think that's very interesting just to know how much the venue plays in that in making the attendee happy. And also wanted to point out that right now we see a couple of cities trending in our top 5 in terms of room nights on the Cvent Supplier Network: Dallas, Orlando, San Diego, Nashville, and Atlanta. Now these are receiving the most room nights on our network, but obviously they're tier 1 cities. We also see tier 2 cities popping up as being, not only popular, but more affordable. So we're seeing that trend as well, as partnering with a venue in maybe a lesser known city, but still attractive city to attendees. Yeah, I think that's it from my side, but just the venue plays a very vital role in all of this.
And Laura, from a hotel's perspective, what role do you see hotels playing in supporting planners with attendee engagement and experience throughout the event lifecycle?
Engagement is driven by better management between planner, attendees, properties, whether it be via pre, during, post questionnaires as to how are we doing, how's the schedule, and so forth. However, additionally, offering inclusive options for participation, right? Everyone says they want to join Sunrise Yoga, and then you actually only have 5 attendees. But is a midday stretch session better utilized?
And Kelly, how are luxury event planners leveraging AI in 2025 to enhance the guest experience and streamline operations? Can you share with us some specific examples of AI tools or applications you're seeing being used in planning and execution?
Sure, yeah. AI tools are being used across the entire event planning life cycle. I'm more familiar with that pre-event life cycle and how AI can help event organizers work better with suppliers, and there are a lot of tools out there. If you think about, if you go to Google now and search for anything, you're going to get those AI generated summaries and see results. And that's exactly how we want the venue sourcing process to work as well. So in CVEN's tool, the CVEN Supplier Network, you now can go in there and just type in your natural language what you're looking for. And our network is able to search all of the venue profiles, all of the tags, and through AI populate all of the results that best match your search. So you don't have to manually filter or weed through all of these unqualified venues. You can use AI to streamline that process, which is awesome. And then in terms of the RFP building process, which I know is a lengthy process, we have writing assistants that can help you summarize your RFP. We also have AI technology to help you build out your things like your agenda. So you can literally just upload a Word doc or a PDF of what you think your event is going to be like, and it will build an agenda for you. So it's taking a lot of that pain out of a lengthy process like building an RFP, and AI is making it easier. So we like that. AI is helping us save time. And then on the other side of things for the suppliers, we have assistants that are helping them build out their proposals, which is saving time. They don't have to build a custom proposal every time. It's reading things in the RFP that can help them better respond. So ultimately, the AI tools are streamlining this venue sourcing process for the planners and suppliers. We also have tools that help collaboration on the event diagramming front as well. So we're going to talk about it today, but seeing that space and getting that walkthrough is so important to event organizers. With AI, you can literally input just using, again, your natural language, what you want a space to look like, and it can show you. So AI is really in the forefront for these pre-event tools and fostering collaboration, really making the event organizer and the supplier their time. It's just making everything go quicker so they can save time on these processes.
And one thing to add there too is AI forecasting is also becoming really important for us. So we'll have a tool that is allowing us to look at data from previous years, look at trends from how people are registering, and actually be able to proactively forecast how we need to resource and staff on site. So that's definitely something that we would do in collaboration with our venue and on-site partners, is looking at how much registrations we have, look at how our marketing is performing, and then seeing how we can use AI to optimize staffing, optimize how many meals or room nights we might need based on those forecasts.
And Laura, how are hotels adapting to these AI-driven expectations from planners? What innovations have been implemented to align with these standards or trends?
Of course. Every hotelier and seller I've ever known is and will jump through hoops to meet and exceed expectations from planners. It's just a matter of how we will achieve it, right? I think also there's so many new AI tools that come out every day. We continue to vet them daily in an effort to see if they meet our needs from operations, data input, and so forth. Because frankly, it's just if we can continue to be relevant on the technology side, that will continue to allow us to win more business, frankly. But at the end of the day, we'll still be, ladies and gentlemen, continuing to serve ladies and gentlemen.
And Kelly, you had touched on this on the previous question, but what are some of the top priorities for planners when selecting luxury venues for group events in today's evolving market? Are there particular features or capabilities that you are finding that people are considering their non-negotiables?
I'm going to reference that CVEN's 2025 planner sourcing report again, and we asked what the most challenging part of selecting a venue is, and the most popular response, it's understanding how the actual event space meets the event needs. And I think that plays into the need for event organizers to prioritize getting all of the information from the venue up front. I think that is certainly something that's being prioritized. I would say transparency, flexibility, those are priorities, and it goes, across both sides. But I would say those are certainly priorities for the event organizer, working with a venue that can respond quickly, that can provide maybe the flexibility they need if the event organizer, is saying they're flexible with dates for the venue to respond with flexibility in their proposal, and possibly, not just turn it down, but provide that flexibility. I would say that's top in today's market, because everything is taking longer than it has before. Approvals are taking longer. And we know that because the process is taking longer, we need that transparency and that collaboration across both sides. I also have a stat that 49% of planners reported spending more time reviewing event spaces and diagrams this year versus last. So that goes to show you they're doing a lot more information searching and trying to get all the information to get those approvals from stakeholders that maybe last year they weren't having to do as much. So yeah, a lot going on right now. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about event diagramming, but I think it kind of all ties back to our original conversation around attendee experience. There is so much pressure to create that attendee experience. So getting the information from the venue up front is definitely top priority.
And how are hotels responding to these evolving priorities, such as that flexibility, customization, sustainability, and technology to better position themselves for group business?
As priorities continue to evolve, hotels need to continue to be 2 steps ahead, while also ensuring that we're making the best business decisions and ultimately profitable decisions. Flexibility between attrition and cancellation periods has been ongoing. My experience since 2008 and 2009, and then significantly post-COVID, that has been, one of the many, but top points. Honestly speaking, when it comes to sustainability, I really feel hotels need to not only walk the walk, but talk the talk, right? What are we doing total hotel wide to improve our carbon footprint? What are we doing for our community? Can we incorporate that with, for example, group business, right? I was at a corporate leadership meeting in our property in the Keys, Isla Bella Beach Resort and Spa, and they participate as a whole in beach cleanups, but we also had an opportunity to participate as an activities option during our meeting, which it was really good to do that, frankly. And then when you talk about technology and innovation, continues to be an area of opportunity, right? I think it's tough to get initiatives approved, right? But I always say you have to spend some to make some.
I didn't touch too much on sustainability, so I'm glad that you brought that up, Laura, because I think that for sure is a priority today. We're maximizing the information that's available to event organizers from the venues on sustainability. And I know, to Dara and team as well, that is a priority when designing an event and the itinerary. So thank you for bringing that up, because I did not mention it.
And the stat that you mentioned about groups and meeting planners spending more time reviewing diagrams is actually surprising, considering the rise of the 3D virtual tours and immersive technologies we're seeing. Could you go into a little bit more greater detail on how that's changing the way that evaluating and selecting venues for group bookings? Really, how have you seen this impact decision-making processes or timelines?
I would say it's a good thing and a bad thing that we have all of this information, because it's a lot easier to qualify a venue before going on site. Previously the site inspections happens before selecting a venue, spending a lot of money flying to different destinations to see if that venue fit your needs. But now, as event organizers, you could do all of that online, which is great because it saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of money. You can get that virtual walkthrough directly, on the Cvent Supplier Network or whatever venue sourcing tool or information tool that you're using. But it's also, I would say, causing it is causing things to take a little bit longer because you have all this information and you can compare venues in that way. You might have a lot more options to consider. What we see with our customers, our users using our venue sourcing platform, one RFP on average is going to 10 venues across 6 brands. And even with those 10 venues, roughly 40% of the time, a planner needs to resend the RFP to get the options they need to make a decision. So we're getting the information, but the space is scarce, and things aren't aligning to make the process faster. We're seeing from event creation all the way to venue selection, the process is taking 20 days longer than it did last year. So the 3D technology is great, but I would say it in partnership with the venue, it's very important to make sure you're putting all the information that you need up front and getting thorough responses on the supplier side, on the venue side back. So we can kind of work together, and AI tools are helping with this collaboration, work together to make it so these processes aren't taking longer. I think it also has to do with the stakeholder approval right now. Budgets are tight. We see that cost and budgets are still the number 1 and 2 concerns this year for event organizers and their events. So we know that approval processes are still tough. Is this event worth it? How do you prove ROI? How do you get this approved? So having all the information is great, but it really takes the partnership between the two to get those approvals.
And Laura, what steps are you seeing hotels take to keep up with these virtual selling tools and influence the sales cycle or client engagement?
Of course. So honestly and foremost, it's just staying current and up to date with all the available options, right? When we're talking about the 3D tours, the virtual tours, such a huge asset in order to convert business. A lot of times nowadays, you don't have the time and availability for a planner to actually come out to your property as I remember many used to do a site visit and all the things considered, right? And with that available tool, having that and being able to offer it and it being current, right? I think that's the biggest piece, staying on task, that all your available meeting space, opportunities are loaded correctly. It's just one step further to being able to close a deal.
And Dara and Kelly, what strategies are working best for planners to help manage budgets while still delivering those elevated luxury experiences? Can either of you share any creative approaches you all have used to help partner with meeting and event planners?
I can probably start a little bit, and then Dara maybe could give an example, because I mentioned previously that cost and budget were still rated the number 1 and 2 concerns for event organizers this year, and that comes from our survey that we do with North Star called the Pulse survey. But I do want to say that those 2 have actually dropped a little from last year. So I think maybe it's just common knowledge that these are concerns now at this point, but they're not as big of concerns as they were last year. But what I've heard is that and a lot of our content at our Cvent Connects conference showed this, but event organizers are kind of switching up their formats. So previously, they might have had a large in-person or even hybrid conference, but they're taking that and moving it into smaller regional events that maybe they don't have to pay for that hybrid technology, and they can get more attendance, because attendance is we're seeing it drop from the event organizers' view. They're not getting as many attendees. So if you do the smaller regional events, you're getting more of the local attendance, and then you can maximize attendance and still fulfill your objective. So we're seeing those changes, and then maybe transitioning a little bit more to virtual if you have to, educational virtual sessions instead of doing that one large hybrid event that we know costs a lot of money. So those are some of the changes that I've heard from event organizers taking place.
Yeah, I would definitely agree about more of the like field and regional events being more popular. One of the things that we're doing is doing a little bit more of wraparound events. So if there's other larger conferences happening, we will do a wraparound event that coincides with it. So for example, we did a wraparound dinner at Adobe Summit, and it was super popular. We did it at the Chica at the Venetian. And one thing that we really liked was just having that elevated experience for our attendees. Is a much smaller, intimate group of about 10 folks. And so instead of hosting a larger party to go with this trade show, we hosted a more intimate dinner experience. And our attendees really liked it. We had a 72% attendance rate with a 9.4 net promoter score. So just really great experience for the attendees because they could have those authentic and intimate conversations. And the venue was also really awesome, really luxury decor, really immersive experience. And they had giant chocolate skulls and tableside tomahawk steaks. So it was a really unique experience for our attendees. But also on our end, it's actually a cheaper option for us to do this more intimate dinner versus a larger party or hosting a larger event. And then also just being able to add on the wraparound event versus having to host our own experience was super helpful.
And two things that you said, Dara, are like we see coming through in the data, and that's that small meetings are trending. When we look at the data of all the events on our network, 56% of all the meetings hosted on Cvent so far this year are single day events. And then 39% of those were 25 registrations or below, which means these are smaller events that event organizers are looking to do. And then I also want to call out the venue piece, the special event venues. They're very much trending as well. And this is a stark difference from last year. With one of our surveys, we saw that 49% of event organizers are sourcing special event venues. The year prior it was 17%. So I think it ties into, you know, the immersive, experiential, maybe even more cost-effective solution for getting attendees to really engage with your event.
And how do hotels support planners in achieving the balance between cost effectiveness and high-end experiences?
I think first and foremost, it comes down to communication, right? And really managing expectations as to what do we want? What's the budget, right? And we really have to be realistic when it comes to your budget. There's, everybody wants a champagne experience, but I'll always ask, right? Is it Vouv? Is it Villa Carcamo? Those are two great options, two different price points, right? But then again, it comes back to communication.
And Dara, you wanted to go into more details talking about the hyper-targeted events and personalization of events. And could you share with our audience how that's influenced that approach to group business planning and venue selection? I'm sure our audience would love to hear some additional examples of tailored experiences, wraparound events that have really made a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So we really are, like Kelly was saying, those micro events are really becoming more important. And that's kind of goes into the way that we brand them and the way that we're inviting our audience. So we're really being very selective of what types of attendees are coming. We're thoroughly vetting the attendees and then letting them have a VIP personalized experience. I do have a good example of this from our recent event, Cvent Connect. We hosted a VIP experience at Hotel Emma in San Antonio. So this was a wraparound to our own event that we did. So we hosted our larger Cvent Connect experience, but then hosted a super, super VIP experience for some top marketing executives at Hotel Emma. And a couple of the things that were really important to us in this sort of like micro personalized agenda was that everything be in one venue for these folks. So these are busy executives that maybe are only able to fly in for one day. So we wanted them to have everything contained into one experience to minimize their travel. So we had a place where they could have meetings. We had a place where they could do dinner. And then also their accommodations are all in the same spot. So it really made it easy for them to join us for just that one evening or stay longer for the conference if they wanted to. And then one other thing that we were looking for was a impeccable service experience as well. So these are obviously VIP, more higher level executives that are going to expect a more elevated experience. So the service aspect was really important to us because the hotel is really an extension of our brand for these folks. So we wanted to make sure that everything that they experienced from start to finish was super personalized, super white glove throughout the entire experience. And we really found that having that luxury hotel partner was super important for us.
And Laura, how are hotels adapting to meet the need, a growing demand for personalization and curated guest experiences?
So, one size does not fit all. What I mean by that, every experience is curated with the guest group in mind to ensure satisfaction. And it starts from the beginning, from the moment you step foot in our properties to, to checkout, right? And post stay, meaning that when you're checking in, examples, right? When you're checking in, that you're being acknowledged that you're welcome to the property and that you're here with your group, right? Is there a specific or personalized welcome amenity waiting for you at your room when you check in? And events throughout your stay, right? And I think in addition to that is how are we staying current and up to date with trends, right? And opportunities out there. What do guests want to continue to exceed their expectations, right? I think, one of our properties that's extremely unique, which is in Santa Barbara, El Cab Santa Canyon, that, they have their meeting rooms are yurts, right? Which is very unique and different from when you're thinking of Ballroom C. But in addition to that is what kind of unique experiences can you have at that property? And one of them is sound baths, right? So I think it's just also honing in on the individual properties ethos and branding as to what can we do to set us apart and continue to elevate the guest experience and exceed expectations.
And Dara, what are some of the most impactful ROI metrics that you look for after an event, and how do you measure success? Is there potentially a metric that has recently come into account that meeting planners should or could consider?
So I think everything ROI is just pipeline and attribution post-event where you can see how much pipeline your event has driven. Obviously, that is super important, seeing how much actual dollars. But not every event is just based on dollars. Some of them are relationship building. So we're really seeing ROR, which is return on relationship, be very important to planners. And also to ourselves as well, as we were doing more of these micro events, just how do we measure trust and relationship building over time? Because sometimes the deal cycle isn't always a neat 30, 60, 90 days. So some events are more positioned to be deal closers, while others are about building up relationships over time. So definitely that is important to us. And some of the things that we can look to measure that is things like Net Promoter Score, the qualitative feedback that you get, and then looking at those attendees over time, seeing are they becoming more engaged over time? Are more points of contact being added to your database? Are you reaching in to find new contact roles? Those are a couple of things that we're looking at that help tell if we are deepening the relationship with that customer. One other thing that we look at for Cvent Connect, for example, we're looking at are people adopting and using our tools more post-event than they were previously. So there's a lot of things that you can measure post-event that are not just the typical pipeline numbers, which of course are important, and we're all driven by revenue and making sure, but we also want to make sure that our attendees had a great experience and making sure that we're deepening those relationships.
I like that concept, that ROR, that return on relationships. So, Laura, can you share how hotels better support planners in collecting and analyzing these metrics, and what role do you see hotels continuing to play in demonstrating that event success?
Continue to work alongside planners and provide feedback is probably just always top of mind for hoteliers. Every hotel has a version of a post-stay survey, which is a great way and tool to see how are we doing, what are we doing great, what can we improve at. The same goes for group attendees, sending that out to group attendees, and really from that, getting that feedback, sharing that with the planner too. Right? I think that goes a long way. So, yeah.
And to close, I'd like to thank you all for joining the International Luxury Hotel Association's webinar series and to CVent for making it possible. This will be available on podcast form, and you can find this on ilha.org under their resources. Thank you for spending some time with us and being able to learn about the trends that are happening in group and event business. And we look forward to seeing you in future webinars.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Meet the hotel industry's biggest leaders at Inspire Luxury Hospitality Conference. Back for its 16th year, Inspire 2025 is held in November in Prague and December in Las Vegas. It's the premier event for luxury hospitality. Land deals, learn strategy, and explore innovation. Visit us at inspire.ilha.org.